"Sir, are you Mrs. Eleanor's husband? I saw her, tied up, inside your house. There's a bad man, and I'm really scared." William stood motionless at the end of the long glass conference table, his hand still hovering over the speakerphone button. The boardroom had gone silent. His assistant exchanged glances with the legal counsel. Nobody knew if they should speak or breathe. "What did you just say?" William asked carefully, his brows drawn tight. His voice, usually crisp and commanding, now wavered with something between disbelief and suspicion. "I didn't mean to be bad, I promise," the little voice said. "I wasn't trying to sneak. I just like playing near your garden. And then I saw her. She was crying. Then she stopped. And her mouth was covered. I think she needs help." William frowned. "Who is this? Where are your parents?" "I'm Anna. I'm 6. I live nearby. I'm sorry I took the phone. I didn't know what else to do." He pressed the mute button and turned to his team. "Someone's messing with me," he said flatly. "Probably a group of kids with too much time and a stolen number. Let's get back to it." But his fingers didn't move to hang up. His mind was already elsewhere, caught by the name she had said. Eleanor. 3 years. That was how long it had been since he last saw her, really saw her. Not in court, not on TV, not in the clipped email threads passed through lawyers, but face to face. Their last real conversation had ended with her telling him to stop pretending everything can be fixed with money. Eleanor had been many things: a force of nature, a stubborn idealist, a woman who believed in the law more than in love, at times. But she had never been the type to get caught in a trap, and definitely not inside the home they once shared. "Anna," he said slowly, unmuting the call. "Where exactly are you right now?" "I'm near the backyard, behind the white fence. I'm hiding under the bushes 'cause I got scared." "How did you get this number?" "There was a card on the ground. I think she dropped it. It said your name. I saw it once before when I peeked in your mailbox. I know I'm not supposed to." William let out a breath. "A business card? His personal line? He only gave those to know." "No. It couldn't be." "Listen, Anna," he said carefully. "If this is a prank, if someone told you to do this, now is the time to stop. This isn't funny." "Zero. I'm not lying," the girl cried out, sudden panic in her voice. "She said your name." She tried to crawl toward the window. But someone came back and then she stopped moving. Please help her." There was something raw in her voice. A kind of desperation no child should have to fake. William's gut clenched. Still, he couldn't shake the suspicion. This could be a setup. Some stupid stunt by neighborhood teens, or worse, someone trying to bait him. He had enemies. Not a lot, but the kind with the resources and bitterness to pull something like this off. He looked out the floor-to-ceiling windows of the 39th floor. The city below buzzed, oblivious. "I don't see any cameras," Anna continued, voice barely audible again. "I think they turned everything off." A pause. "She had a necklace with your face in it." William stiffened. That necklace had been custom-made. It was a tiny gold locket, with a photo of them taken the day they moved into the house back when life was full of naive optimism, and Eleanor still called him Will in public. No one but her would have had that, and no one else could have described it. If this story moved you, let us know in the comments below. We would love to hear your thoughts. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories that touch the heart. The boardroom felt 100 degrees warmer. His throat tightened. The polished glass table suddenly looked miles long. "Sir," his assistant said carefully. "Should I?" "No," William cut in. "Cancel the rest of the meeting. Indefinitely." He ended the call without explanation and strode out, phone clutched tightly in hand. His driver tried to say something as he passed. But William didn't stop. He hit the elevator button 3 times, though once would have sufficed. In his chest, his heart pounded. Half panic, half something older, a wound he had buried under stock reports, mergers, and press appearances. He hadn't allowed himself to think of Eleanor in months. That had been the only way to survive the silence she left behind. But now, she was possibly in his house. In danger, And the only person who had seen it happen was a 6-year-old girl named Anna, who liked to play near the fence line and talk to squirrels. What the hell was happening? Down in the lobby, the doorman looked up in surprise as William strode across the marble floors. He was used to seeing the CEO in measured steps and tailored pauses, not in this wide-eyed, unshaven, coat-swinging version of himself. "Blake?" the man called out. "Everything all right?" William didn't answer. He was already on the phone, dialing the number to his home security company. The line rang twice, then, "Mr. Blake, we're showing everything's normal on your home system. What about cameras? Live feed's been stable all day. No alerts, no motion detected." William narrowed his eyes as he stepped into the backseat of his car. "Check again. Manually. And send someone. Now." He hung up before the operator could reply. As the car pulled out into the Boston traffic, William stared out the window. There was a pit in his stomach that told him no, begged him to believe this was all just a mistake, a child's imagination, some eerie coincidence. But beneath that, somewhere deeper and harder, was the whisper of something real, something true, and it sounded a lot like Eleanor's voice, calling his name. One last time, Anna crouched low behind the tall hydrangea bush. Her small fingers pressed into the damp soil. Her heart thumped against her ribs like it was trying to escape. The sky above was growing darker now, shades of lavender bleeding into gray, and the air smelled like earth after an afternoon drizzle. She didn't know if the man she'd just called Mr. Blake was really coming. He hadn't said much before the line went dead, but the way his voice changed, it gave her a strange kind of hope, the kind that a 6-year-old clings to when all the grown-ups are too far away. Anna had been here before, many times. This wasn't her first time wandering behind the white fence of the big house on Willow Hill Road. The garden had always felt like a secret world, a place where butterflies danced above sunflowers and squirrels darted between bushes like they had missions to complete. No one ever noticed her. No one ever minded. She had rules, silent ones. Never go past the garden, never touch the doors, never speak to anyone. But today, the rules broke themselves. It happened when she bent down to follow a monarch butterfly and caught a glimpse through the sunroom's half-drawn curtain. At first, she thought the woman was sleeping, but then she noticed the way her arms were twisted, the way her legs shook. The woman's mouth moved like she was trying to scream, but there was only a muffled whimper, and then Anna saw the shadow behind her. A figure. Tall. Moving slowly. Methodically. That's when she ran. That's when she found the phone by the bench outside the trail entrance, left by someone careless. That's when she called. Now, the wind rattled the hedges, and the house stood still as stone. No more movement inside. Just the curtain fluttering slightly, like fingers waving in slow distress. She tightened her hoodie around her ears and whispered to herself, "He's coming. He'll help her. He has to." From her spot in the bush, she could still see the brass doorknob to the back entrance. It hadn't turned. Nothing had moved. But her gut told her something wasn't right anymore. It wasn't just the silence, it was too silent. Behind her, tires crunched gravel. She turned. The sleek black BMW glided to a stop just outside the gate. The driver's door flew open, and a tall man in a dark wool coat stepped out, his posture rigid, his head swiveling like a hawk's. Anna recognized him immediately. She'd seen him in magazines, in a news story her mom once left open on a kitchen tablet before walking out the door forever. William Blake. He was taller than she imagined. Sharper, too. His presence pulled the air inward like a vacuum. She stood slowly, dusting her jeans, revealing herself. William's eyes locked on her. "You're Anna?" She nodded. "I didn't go inside. I just saw her. I swear." He held up a calming hand. "You did good calling me. Just show me where." She pointed with a shaky finger. "Through there. The sunroom." He walked with long strides, but cautiously. He didn't run, but every movement was urgent. He stopped near the white trellis gate and tried the latch. It opened with a creak. Anna followed close behind, her breath hitching with every step. As they approached the glass-paneled sunroom door, William leaned close to the window. The curtain obscured most of the interior. No movement. He tried the handle. Locked. He punched a code into the side keypad. Nothing. His brow furrowed. He tried again. System failure. The panel blinked. Red. Anna tugged on his sleeve. "I think they turned it off," she whispered. "I didn't hear any beeps or alarms when I saw the man go in." "What man?" He had something black over his face. He moved like he knew where to go. He wasn't loud. William's jaw tightened. "Stay here," he said. She looked at him with wide eyes. "But what if he sees me?" He hesitated, then took off his coat and draped it around her. "Sit behind that planter. Don't move until I come back." Anna obeyed, shrinking into the wool like it was armor. William stepped away, heading down the path toward the side of the house where an old cellar entrance remained hidden behind ivy and stone. The servants had used it decades ago. It wasn't connected to the alarm system. He hadn't thought about it in years. He pulled away the vines with force. The metal doors groaned as they opened, resisting him with the weight of rust and disuse. The darkness below smelled of earth and memory. He hesitated only a second, then descended. Inside the cellar, the air was colder. The walls were lined with old wine racks and forgotten crates. His footsteps echoed slightly, crunching on grit. He moved with silent urgency, weaving through the narrow corridor that connected to the basement. He passed the breaker panel. Red lights. System override. Manual lockout. Whoever was in the house hadn't just broken in, they'd known how to disable everything. A professional. William reached the basement stairs and moved upward. At the top was a second keypad, this one inside, designed for emergencies. He tapped a sequence. The lock clicked. He opened the door slowly and stepped into the main hallway. Silence. Sunlight slanted through the west-facing windows, casting long golden stripes across the hardwood floor. He walked past the living room. The TV was off. No music, no voices, only the ticking of the antique clock Eleanor once bought in Vermont. And then a soft sound, a muffled gasp. He froze. It came from the sunroom. He moved quickly now, no longer silent. He turned the corner and saw her. Eleanor, bound to the wrought iron bench, gagged, eyes wide with fear. She saw him and then her gaze darted behind him. William spun just as a figure lunged from the shadows. Too fast. A blow landed hard against the side of his skull. He stumbled, crashed into the wall. Darkness bloomed at the edge of his vision. Before he collapsed, he heard Eleanor scream muffled and sharp, and something inside him cracked open. Then everything went black. When William came to, the first thing he felt was cold. The hardwood floor beneath his cheek was icy and slick, with something damp blood, maybe sweat. A low ringing whined in his ears like a mosquito trapped in a tin can. For a long second, he couldn't move. Then came the pained sharp, pulsing, behind his left ear. His vision swam. He tried to sit up. No sudden moves. Came a voice, low, measured, male. William froze. He turned his head slowly. The man standing above him wore black gloves and a balaclava, tall, broad-shouldered, not rushed, not panicking. He held a heavy flashlight in one hand, a small handgun in the other, as if both were equally useful. "I really didn't want this to get messy," the man said. "But you just wouldn't stay away." William blinked. "Who are you?" The man didn't answer. He turned toward Eleanor, who was still bound to the bench. Her face streaked with tears and fear. Her eyes locked onto William's. That silent plea he had seen 100 times in their marriage. Don't give in. Don't let them win. The man walked to her and placed the flashlight gently on the windowsill. "We had a plan, your wife and I." She had evidence. Documents. "You know anything about those, Mr. Blake?" William's mind scrambled. Documents? What the hell was he talking about? "No?" the man chuckled. "She didn't trust you either, huh? That makes two of us." William pushed himself up to one knee, his head swimming. "You're not getting away with this. You know who I am?" "Oh, I know exactly who you are." The man raised the gun toward him. "But I don't think you understand who I am. That's the problem with men like you. Always think the world runs on money. But sometimes it runs on silence." He turned back to Eleanor. She should have kept hers. A white-hot bolt of panic surged through William's chest. He needed to stall, keep him talking. "You're after the files," William said, voice hoarse. "The ones she was preparing for the commission." That made the man pause. "So she did tell you something," he said, smile tightening. "That's unfortunate." "Well," behind the man's shoulder, Eleanor was shaking her head violently. "No." Her wrists bled against the restraints. William understood instantly. "Don't let him know. Don't feed the fire." But it was too late. The intruder stepped closer to William, lifting the gun. "I can't have you interfering." A sharp sound pierced the air. Clang. The man jerked his head sideways. Another clang. Something metallic had hit the outer window. Outside, Anna. She was throwing rocks at the glass. "Hey," she shouted, voice shrill, cracking. "Get away from them." William's eyes widened in horror. "No, Anna. Run." But the distraction was enough. William lunged forward, grabbing the intruder's wrist with both hands, twisting it hard. The gun discharged with a muffled pop, embedding a bullet into the ceiling beam. They struggled. The man was strong, trained, but William was fueled by fury, by the image of Eleanor gagged, by the sound of a 6-year-old risking her life for people she barely knew. The gun fell. They both reached for it. William got there first. He stood, shaking, gun aimed with both hands. "Don't move." The man froze. Then, with a smug smirk, he lifted his hands. William stepped back, still aiming. On the ground, now, the man obeyed, slowly, lowering himself to the floor. William didn't take his eyes off him. "Eleanor," he said, voice strained. "I've got you." He backed toward her, never lowering the gun. He reached down, began untying the knots around her wrists. They were tight. Painfully tight. He winced as he worked, feeling her fingers tremble. When the gag came off, Eleanor gasped in air like a drowning woman reaching the surface. "He's not alone," she whispered. "There's more. Cameras, he knows everything." William's blood turned to ice. "Who sent him?" But she didn't get a chance to answer. The sound of a car engine roared outside, then tires squealing against asphalt. William's mind raced. Someone was getting away. "Anna." He sprinted to the back door, gun still in hand, threw it open. Anna was gone. Only his coat remained, crumpled near the planter. "Anna," he shouted. No response. Not even rustling leaves. Only distant sirens finally growing louder. He turned to see the man still on the floor, now bleeding from a cut above his eyebrow. Eleanor was struggling to sit up. William rushed back to her. "You're safe. Help is coming." She gripped his wrist. "We need to talk before they arrive." "I didn't trust anyone. That's why I came here alone. I didn't know who to believe anymore." William knelt beside her. "I thought you were gone. I thought you wanted nothing more to do with me. I never stopped loving you," she whispered. "I just didn't know how to keep you safe." He closed his eyes. So many things unsaid. And now a child was missing. "Stay here," he told her. "Ambulance is on the way. I have to find her." Eleanor clutched his hand. "Be careful. Whoever planned this, they're not finished." William nodded. He stepped into the hallway, gun lowered but still ready. The storm wasn't over. It had just begun. The evening air had grown sharper, cooler, smelling of pine, gasoline, and the faint electric scent of an approaching storm. William burst out of the house, his feet pounding the stone path that curved around the garden beds Eleanor had once planted herself. The roses had overgrown, wild now, the petals drooping like tired heads in the darkening light. But he wasn't looking at flowers. He was looking for Anna. She was nowhere in sight. His chest ached with panic, his mind sprinting faster than his legs. He turned in a full circle, scanning every shadow, every corner of the yard. "Anna!" he yelled, voice cracking. "Anna, where are you?" Nothing. Just the rustling of trees, the buzz of insects, the faint sound of sirens still weaving their way through distant streets. He ran toward the back gate, the white one she'd mentioned. It was ajar, swinging softly in the breeze. On the ground beside it, a small pink shoelace. His heart skipped. He picked it up with shaking fingers. It was hers. He remembered seeing it earlier, when she'd stood trembling in his coat. The left sneaker had been loosely tied. She must have tripped or been taken. He looked beyond the gate. The trail behind the property led into a narrow service road, used mostly by landscapers and delivery vans. It was easy to overlook, secluded, too secluded. William moved fast, weaving through overgrown hedges. At the edge of the trail, he found tire tracks in the mud, fresh, deep, erratic. A vehicle had peeled out of there quickly. He took a photo with his phone and texted it to his head of security with a single line: pull every plate in a 3-mile radius. Now. He didn't have time to wait. He followed the tracks as far as he could until they disappeared onto pavement. He stopped, hands on knees, trying to calm his breathing. Then he heard it. A whimper. Soft, frightened, close. He turned sharply, stepping into the trees that bordered the road. There beneath an old stone birdbath, hidden in a tangle of ivy and branches, was a small shape, curled up, trembling. "Anna!" He rushed forward. She shrank back at first, eyes wide with terror. "It's me," he said gently, lowering his voice. "William. Remember? You called me. You helped me." She blinked through tears. Her lips trembled. "He grabbed me. But I bit him. I bit his hand." William crouched down, checking her quickly. No blood. Scratches, but nothing serious. She was shaking. More from shock than injury. "Good girl," he whispered. "You were brave." "I hid, like you said. Then he found me. But I ran when he tripped. I think he dropped something." William glanced around. "Did you see what kind of car it was?" She nodded. "Big. Like a van. Black. No windows in the back." His eyes narrowed. "Professional." They'd planned for this. She reached into the pocket of his coat, still wrapped around her, and pulled out something small. A broken key fob. One of the buttons had cracked off. "I think it was his," she said. William took it, turning it over. It was cheap. Standard. But possibly traceable. A clue. The sound of a vehicle engine grew louder nearby. William pulled Anna close, shielding her instinctively. A moment later, blue and red lights flooded the trees. 2 police cruisers screeched to a halt on the path. Officers emerged, guns drawn until they saw him. "Mr. Blake?" one of them called. "Dispatch said you reported a break-in?" William nodded, standing slowly. "She's with me. She's safe. There's someone inside the house. Detain him. Now. The woman tied up is my wife. She needs medical attention immediately." The officer looked stunned. "Your wife? I thought—" "I know what you thought," William snapped. "Just move." The officer nodded and spoke into his radio. Another unit peeled off toward the house. A female officer approached Anna carefully. "Sweetheart, are you hurt?" Anna looked at William first. He gave her a nod. She whispered, "Just scared." The officer wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. William stood aside, heart still racing, as the medics arrived and flooded the garden. Another officer approached him with a notepad. "Sir, do you know who the suspect is?" "Not yet," William said. "But he knew how to get past my security. He knew Eleanor would be there. And he knew she had something that could ruin him." The officer frowned. "Ruin who?" "I don't know," William admitted. "But Eleanor had evidence. Files. She was working with someone outside official channels. She didn't trust anyone on the board. She didn't even trust me. You think this was a hit?" "I think it was a warning," William said grimly. "But whoever sent him, they're not going to stop here." The officer nodded and stepped away. William walked over to Anna, who was sitting on the back bumper of the ambulance. A paramedic was checking her pulse. "Am I in trouble?" she asked softly, not looking up. "No," he said. "You're a hero." She glanced at him, unsure. He crouched beside her. "You saved her life. You saved mine too." She hesitated, then leaned against him. And for the first time in years, William felt something heavy inside him begin to lift, just slightly. The chaos buzzed around them: sirens, radio chatter, flashing lights. But in that one moment, with Anna safe and Eleanor alive, he allowed himself to breathe. The battle was far from over. But now, Now he had something to fight for again. William stood in the hallway of Massachusetts General, hands deep in the pockets of his coat, staring at the frosted glass door marked Observation Room, Private. Behind that door, Eleanor lay on a narrow hospital bed, her face pale beneath the fluorescent lights, an IV trailing from her wrist. A nurse moved silently around the room, adjusting monitors and checking vitals. But William's eyes never left Eleanor's face. He hadn't been this close to her in 3 years. Not since the night she walked out and never looked back. And yet, despite the bruises on her arms and the fatigue in her body, she looked exactly the same. Composed, unbroken, and utterly resolute. Anna sat beside him in the hallway, her legs swinging off the edge of the bench, still wrapped in his coat like it was a shield. A warm cup of cocoa sat untouched in her hands. She looked up at him. "Is she gonna be okay?" William nodded. "The doctors say she'll be sore for a while. But yes, she's strong." Anna didn't speak for a moment. Then, quietly, "She was crying. Before you came, I think she thought no one would help her." William looked down at the girl, this brave little spark who had shattered his world and saved it in the same day. "You helped her, Anna. You did something most adults wouldn't have dared." Anna stared into her cup. "I was scared. You did it anyway." Just then, the door opened. A young female detective stepped out, her badge clipped to her belt, a notepad in one hand. "Mr. Blake," she said softly. "She's awake now. She's asking for you." He stood immediately, but hesitated. "What about him? The man who broke in?" "Still unconscious. We're waiting for the scan to clear him for questioning. No ID, no phone, no wallet. Professional, just like you said." William nodded. "He's not the one pulling the strings. That's what your wife said too." He stepped into the room. Eleanor turned her head slowly toward him. Her eyes, still ringed with exhaustion, locked onto his. And in that gaze, he saw everything they'd lost: trust, time, love, and everything they hadn't lost yet. He crossed to her side. "You're safe. For now," she murmured. "They're watching everything, Will. I shouldn't have come back, but I had no one else. You have me." She laughed, bitter and brief. "You don't even know what I'm involved in." "I don't care." "Yes, you do," she whispered. "And you should, because it's going to get ugly." William sat down beside her, hands folded. "Start from the beginning." Eleanor exhaled slowly. "I didn't want to drag you into this. I've been working undercover, off the record, with 2 other whistleblowers inside the commission. Financial corruption, embezzlement, ties to contractors with criminal records. One of them found links to illegal surveillance on children, schools, low-income districts. They were collecting data, selling it." William blinked. "That's worse than we thought. I gathered what I could, but I couldn't trust the chain of custody. So I kept the files hidden." "Where?" Eleanor turned her head toward the window. "Do you remember the summer house in Rockport?" William paused. "You buried something?" "No, I locked it in the floorboards under the piano, a USB drive. It's encrypted. Only I can open it, but they must have found out I had it. That's why they sent him." William stood slowly. "We'll go tonight." "One." "No," Eleanor said, grabbing his wrist. "You can't go alone. They'll be watching it. Then we bring backup. Not the police. Not yet. This goes higher than we think." There was a knock at the door. The detective returned, her expression tense. "We found something." William followed her down the hallway to the hospital's security office. On the desk sat a small manila envelope, no markings, no address. Inside, a single Polaroid photo. It was a picture of Anna, taken earlier that day, not in the garden, but at the grocery store 2 blocks from the school. William's face darkened. "Where did you find this?" "Inside the suspect's jacket, hidden in a seam." He stared at the photo. Anna standing near a display of apples, her tiny face half-turned, unaware she was being watched. A timestamp scrawled on the back, 2:07 p.m., just 3 hours before she called him. "They were watching her," he whispered. "Or using her," the detective added, "to monitor your house. Maybe more. William's stomach twisted. Anna wasn't just a bystander. She was a pawn. A target. And now, maybe worse bait. He stormed back to the hallway bench, but it was empty. "Anna?" he called, looking left and right. No response. He jogged down the corridor, checked the vending area, the restrooms, the small chapel at the end of the hall. Nothing. A nurse approached, concerned. "Looking for the little girl?" "Yes, where is she?" "She left a few minutes ago. She said her grandma was picking her up." William froze. "She doesn't have a grandma." The nurse's face fell. He pulled out his phone, dialed security. "Lock the exits," he snapped. "Now." But it was too late. Anna was gone. The hospital's emergency alert lights strobed softly along the white ceilings, washing the halls in pulses of red. A calm voice repeated instructions over the intercom. "Code Amber. Child abduction in progress. All personnel secure exits." Lockdown in effect, but the voice sounded far too composed for what William felt rising in his chest. Rage, fear, failure. He was already running. Through the West Wing, past nurses and startled patients, past security guards pulling down steel gates. The front lobby had sealed. The parking lot gates were closing, but she was gone. Anna. 1 minute she was there, sitting with Coco on the bench outside Eleanor's room, and the next, a ghost. William slammed open the door to the hospital's security control room, where 3 officers stood around a bank of monitors. "Pull every camera from the last 10 minutes, he barked. "Find the moment she left that bench." One officer was already scrolling backward. On the center monitor, they saw her, Anna rising from the seat, her small frame wrapped in his coat. A woman appeared beside her mid-50 seconds, gray cardigan, shopping bag in one hand. "She told me it was her grandmother," the nurse had said. Now William saw the woman's face. Soft. Familiar. Somehow. But not warm. There was a stiffness to her movements. Trained. Efficient. The woman said something to Anna. The girl hesitated, then nodded slowly. She took her hand. They turned, headed down the corridor. Out through the east, staff exit a door that had been propped open for HVAC work. No camera beyond that point. "Freeze that frame," William said. The technician tapped the screen. The image sharpened. William leaned closer, his knuckles whitening. It wasn't a grandmother. It was a disguise. He recognized the woman's eyes now, or rather, the cold behind them. "Get me a facial recognition run," he said. "Start with private security files, corporate databases. You won't find her in DMV records." "How do you know?" the tech asked. "Because I've hired people like her before." The officer turned. "You're saying she's military?" "Worse, corporate extraction." They all looked at him. He explained. "Private intelligence, contracted by board, level executives, to erase problems quietly. They're ghosts. You won't find fingerprints, family, even birth certificates. The good ones don't have names, just clients." The tech swallowed. "And you think they're targeting the girl?" William nodded, eyes fixed on the still image of Anna, holding the hand of a wolf in sheep's clothing. "They didn't get the files from Eleanor. So now, they're using the girl to bring me to them." Silence, then a voice from the radio. "We've located a vehicle exiting the staff lot, black van, tinted windows. Plate scan reads, dealer, unregistered." William grabbed the radio. "Where?" "Just past Atlantic and Boone, heading south." "That's 10 blocks from here," William muttered. He turned to the security chief. "I'm going after her." The man shook his head. "Sir, that's not advised. Let local PD handle." "I'm not letting another child disappear on my watch," William growled. "Just give me access to the hospital garage." Minutes later, William was behind the wheel of his own SUV. Tires screeching against the pavement as he tore down 8th Street, scanning every side road, every alley. His phone was connected to dispatch. The black van had turned near the industrial docks. Of course. No cameras. No witnesses. No accountability. He followed the route, muscle memory guiding him. Years ago, he'd invested in half the waterfront redevelopment himself. He knew the dead ends, the empty warehouses, the blind corners. But this wasn't a business deal. This was a rescue. His heart pounded with every second that passed. His mind flipped through every possibility. What would they do to her? Would they hurt her? Would they threaten her to get to him? Or worse, erase the only witness? Anna had seen too much. The sun dipped lower behind the skyline, casting shadows over the pier as William pulled into the gravel lot near Warehouse 19. His headlights swept across the lot. There, at the far end, the back of a black van, still idling. He killed the engine, quietly stepped out. The gravel crunched under his shoes. He moved slowly, silently, toward the van. The engine still hummed. The driver's seat was empty. No sound. Then a muffled noise. The rear door shifted. He drew closer, and heard it again. A cough. Small. Choked. Anna. He reached the door. His hand hovered over the handle. His breath caught. Then he yanked it open. She was inside, duct-taped at the wrists and ankles, but alive, eyes wide, terrified. William climbed in, cutting the restraints with his pocket knife. "It's okay," he whispered. "I'm here." But before she could answer, a voice echoed across the lot. "Step away from the van, Mr. Blake." He turned sharply. A figure stood at the edge of the light, tall, dark jacket. Something metallic glinting at his side. The same woman, no longer in disguise. This time, she wasn't pretending to be a grandmother. "Let her go," William demanded, shielding Anna behind him. "I didn't come for her," the woman said calmly. "I came for you. She was just the bait." William's jaw clenched. "And now what? You kill us both?" She smirked. "That depends. How much are those files worth to you?" He didn't answer. She stepped forward, gun raised. But a sudden spotlight exploded across the lot, followed by shouts. "BPD, drop your weapon." The woman froze, then dropped the gun. William turned. Behind him, a convoy of police vehicles flooded the pier. Anna sobbed into his coat, and for the second time in one day, William realized just how close he'd come to losing everything. The conference room in the downtown precinct was cold and sterile. Gray walls, gray carpet, gray mood. William sat with Anna wrapped safely in a thick flannel blanket, her head resting against his side. She hadn't spoken since they left the docks, but her small hand clutched his as if letting go meant losing everything again. Across the table, Detective Morales placed a tape recorder on the desk, pressed record, and leaned back in her chair. "It's 11:32 p.m. I'm sitting with William Blake and the minor female rescued at the pier earlier tonight. Temporarily identified as Anna, no last name on record. Mr. Blake, you told my officer that this child called you earlier today to report an incident involving your wife." "Yes," William said, voice rough. "She witnessed the break-in at my home and made the call that saved Eleanor's life. And mine." Morales glanced at Anna, who hadn't looked up. "And you say the woman who abducted her, this fake grandmother, was a professional extractor? She fits the profile. Military posture. Corporate background. Not freelance. She was trained. Any idea who hired her?" William hesitated. "Not yet. But Eleanor believes someone on the commission did. Someone high up. Maybe even on the security subcommittee." Morales tilted her head. "You realize what you're implying, Mr. Blake? That people inside a public federal oversight body are hiring private contractors to silence whistleblowers. That's enormous." "I know," William said, "and it's exactly why Eleanor didn't go to the authorities first." Morales sighed, clicking her pen. "We'll file charges for kidnapping and attempted murder. But if what you're saying is true, this doesn't end here." "No," William agreed. "It's just beginning." The door opened. A uniformed officer leaned in and gestured toward Morales. She excused herself and stepped into the hallway. Closing the door behind her, William looked down at Anna. "You okay?" She nodded, barely. He brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. "You were incredibly brave." "I didn't know she was lying," Anna whispered. "She said she was taking me to see my real grandma." "I don't have a real grandma." But for a minute, I wanted to believe. William's throat tightened. "That's not your fault. They used your hope against you. That's what monsters do." She looked up at him. "Am I going back to the shelter now?" "No," he said firmly. "You're coming with me." Her eyes widened. "I'm not leaving you alone again," he added. You belong somewhere safe. Somewhere you're wanted. And if you'll let me, I'd like to make that place mine." She didn't speak, but she didn't cry either. And that, for now, was enough. The door opened again. Detective Morales returned, her expression tighter than before. "Bad news," she said, sitting down. "The woman we arrested at the pier? She's gone." William's jaw clenched. "Gone? What do you mean, gone?" "Transferred into federal custody under a national security order. 2 men from D.C. showed up with paperwork. Walked her out the back door. No chance for us to intervene." William stood up. "You let them take her?" "I didn't have a choice. And technically, neither did she." He paced. "This was a hit job, Morales. She kidnapped a child, tied up my wife, almost killed me, and now she walks?" "She doesn't walk," Morales said. "She disappears. Different game now. You don't file complaints in this league. You build cases slowly, carefully, and you don't trust anyone." William looked down at Anna. "They'll try again." "Yes," Morales said, "and next time, they won't fail." By the time they got back to his penthouse, Boston had gone quiet. The city glowed in amber streetlights, the hum of midnight traffic like a distant lullaby. Anna clutched the bear the nurse had given her, too exhausted to protest as he carried her up the elevator. Inside, the space was warm, marble floors, high ceilings, a fireplace flickering to life at the touch of a button. But it wasn't the wealth that mattered. It was the silence, and how different this silence was from the kind she'd known. He tucked her into the guest room, leaving the door slightly open. She didn't ask for a story. She didn't ask for water. She just looked at him and said, "You're not gonna leave, right?" "Never," he whispered. "Not again." She nodded and turned her face into the pillow. William closed the door gently. In the study, Eleanor sat on the couch, legs tucked beneath her, wearing one of his old sweaters. She looked like a woman too tired to be afraid anymore. On the coffee table was a bottle of red wine unopened. He joined her wordlessly. For a long time they didn't speak. Then Eleanor broke the silence. "Do you remember what I said to you the night I left?" William looked at her. "You said you couldn't live with a man who didn't know what he stood for." She nodded. "I still meant it." He exhaled slowly. "And now?" She looked at him, eyes weary. "Now you do." They sat in silence again, not as punishment but as peace. Finally, William said, "We go to Rockport in the morning. Get the drive. We open it. We finish what you started." She nodded. "And we protect that girl, like she's our own." He looked toward the hallway, where the warm light from the guest room spilled out across the floor. She already island. The next morning, the air in Rockport was crisp, clean, and far too quiet. A thin layer of mist still clung to the earth as William pulled the SUV off the rural road and onto the gravel driveway of the old summer house. The house looked abandoned. The paint on the shutters had chipped. Vines crept up the side of the porch columns, and the lawn had surrendered to wild grass. But the bones of the place were still strong. Eleanor stepped out of the vehicle first, her eyes scanning the property like she was walking through a memory she wasn't sure she was ready to relive. "This place hasn't changed," she said softly. "Even the way the wind moves here, it's like time skips over it." William came around the other side, helping Anna down gently. She gripped his hand tightly, her face filled with quiet awe. "Did you used to live here?" "In the summers," Eleanor said. "When things were simpler." Anna looked up at her. "Are we safe here?" Eleanor smiled gently. "For now." They walked up the front steps. The door creaked when William pushed it open, and the scent of dust, old cedar, and sea salt greeted them. Light filtered in through the curtains, painting golden stripes on the wood floor. The house had been untouched for years, and yet it felt lived in, like it had been waiting for them. They stepped into the main room. The grand piano stood at the far end, a beautiful, black lacquered antique that Eleanor's father had once played during long, lazy summer evenings. William's eyes went straight to it. "This is where you hid it?" Eleanor nodded. "Under the floorboard behind the pedals. I reinforced the slats, made it look seamless. Took me 3 hours and a very nervous bottle of wine." William gave her a look. "And you never told me?" I didn't know who I could trust back then. Not even you. Anna walked slowly toward the piano, her small fingers grazing the keys. One note sounded low, dusty, sad. William knelt down, feeling beneath the instrument. His fingers traced the edge of the board Eleanor had mentioned, pressing gently along the grooves until he found the one plank that gave slightly under pressure. He wedged his pocket knife into the seam and pried. With a soft click, the board lifted. Inside, wrapped in cloth and sealed plastic, was a single USB drive, black, unlabeled. William held it up. Eleanor let out a breath she'd been holding for years. "That's it," she whispered. "Everything." They didn't have long to celebrate. A low rumble sounded outside tires on gravel. William stood instantly, moving to the window. A black sedan had pulled up the drive. One man. Alone. He wore a suit. Crisp. Too perfect for the countryside. "I know that look," William said. "He's not a neighbor." Eleanor nodded, already moving Anna behind the piano. "Get her in the back room. Don't let him see her." William did as told, guiding Anna to a small storage room off the kitchen and telling her to stay quiet, no matter what she heard. He handed her his phone. "If anything happens, press the green button. It'll call the detective." She nodded silently, eyes wide with fear, then disappeared behind the door. William returned to the living room just as the knock came. He opened it. The man outside looked calm, unarmed. Mid-40 seconds. A familiar smugness that came from knowing he didn't need a weapon to be dangerous. "Mr. Blake," the man said smoothly. "May I come in?" "Depends. Are you here for coffee or corruption?" The man smirked. "That's clever. I expected nothing less." He reached into his coat, and William tensed, but the man simply pulled out a card and handed it over. "Victor Gaines," the man said. "Office of Strategic Security Affairs." William glanced at the card. No phone number. No address. Just a name and a seal that looked suspiciously too clean to be real. "What do you want?" "I want to help you," Gaines said. "You're holding something very dangerous, Mr. Blake. Files that could spark a national scandal. Bring down people who've served this country for decades. Some dirty, some not, but all of them with enough reach to burn you down before breakfast." "So what? You're here to make a deal?" "I'm here to offer you a warning," Gaines said, stepping forward. "There's still time to walk away. Destroy the drive. Take the girl. Move to the hills. Forget all of this." William didn't flinch. "And Eleanor? She won't make it through a second attempt. Neither will the child. You're already on borrowed time." William stepped out, closing the door behind him. He and Gaines now stood face to face. "I used to be the kind of man who might have listened to you," William said. "But I've changed." "You're still a businessman," Gaines replied, "so let me speak your language. If you go through with this, you won't win. You might expose a few names, stir up the press, maybe even make a martyr of yourself. But the machine keeps moving. You'll just be another ghost story." William leaned in. "Then I hope you like ghosts." "Because I'm not backing down." They stared at each other in silence. Then Gaines smiled. "Well," he said, adjusting his tie, "I admire your optimism. It's rare these days." He turned, walked back to his car, and drove off like it had all been a social call. William stepped back inside, locking the door behind him. Eleanor stood near the piano, her face pale. "What did he want?" "To scare us." "Did it work?" "No," William said, his voice like steel. "But it reminded me of something." "What?" "That we need to move fast." He pulled the drive from his pocket, held it in his palm like a loaded gun. "We go public, on our terms, before they try again." Eleanor nodded, and in the quiet that followed, Anna stepped back into the room. She looked up at them, these two adults who had suddenly become her world, and said softly, "I'm not afraid anymore." Neither were they. The drive sat like a live wire between them. Back at William's Boston penthouse, the air was thick with anticipation. The shades were drawn. All electronics, except for a single, hardened laptop, were disconnected from the internet. A secondary router sat nearby, hooked to an encrypted satellite line that Eleanor had set up through an old contact in digital forensics. They had one chance to open the files safely and get the truth out before anyone could intercept them. Eleanor's fingers hovered over the keyboard. William stood behind her, his eyes scanning the dark windows. Anna was curled up in a chair, watching quietly, hugging the same stuffed bear she'd held since the hospital. Her presence grounded the room with something human, innocent. "You're sure it's not booby-trapped?" William asked. "If they were smart, they'd try to corrupt it remotely the moment it connects to a network," Eleanor replied. "That's why this rig is completely air-gapped. It's not just secure, it's invisible." She inserted the drive. The computer whirred softly. Then, a ping. A password prompt appeared. Eleanor typed slowly. A string of characters only she would know. Part numbers. A date. A quote from her father. The screen blinked once, then opened. Dozens of folders appeared, labeled by month, year, subject. Eleanor navigated to the most recent set, February through June. Inside were documents, audio recordings, surveillance reports. William leaned in. This is it?" She clicked on a file marked East District Funding, Phase 3. It opened a PDF, doctored invoices, shadow corporations, contracts approved with forged signatures. Then photos. A man in a government office exchanging envelopes with someone William recognized from board meetings. Eleanor said quietly, "That's Senator Klein's assistant. He was on the charter school committee." William stared. "And that's Samuel Vance. He owns the data collection firm that was blacklisted last year for privacy violations. They funneled him back in through a proxy. Rebranded. The new name is Lancer Analytics. They've been skimming data from low-income school districts, minority communities, selling behavioral data to insurance companies and private security firms. It's predatory profiling, Will." She clicked again, this time a video. A grainy conference room recording. A meeting between 3 men. One wore a badge. Another, a corporate lapel pin. The third, the same man who tried to abduct Anna. They were laughing, talking about tying off loose ends. Eleanor whispered, "This is what got me hunted." William stood, backing away from the screen like it had burned him. "We need to leak it. Now." She nodded. "I have a contact at the Herald. She's been waiting for weeks, but I wouldn't give it to her until I had everything." He handed her his phone. "Call her. Tell her to get ready." She began to dial. Just then, Anna spoke. "Are they going to try and hurt us again?" William turned to her. "Not if I can help it." She nodded solemnly. "Okay. Can I stay close while you finish?" "I don't want to go sleep yet." "You can stay right there, kiddo." Eleanor finished the call. "She's sending a secure upload link. Once this hits their servers, they'll move fast." Front page spread. Full data dump. No edits. William exhaled. Good. But even as he said it, a chill crept down his spine. A thought. What if they don't let it reach the public? What if they shut it down before it hits the light? Eleanor met his eyes. "Then we don't just leak it. We speak, you and I. On video, explain everything, make it personal. If they take down the files, our faces remain, our words." William nodded. "You'll speak?" "I have to. It started with me." He walked over to the camera mounted to the laptop. "Let's record now. Before anything else can go wrong." He clicked, record. Eleanor looked into the lens, her voice steady despite the weight of what she was about to say. "My name is Eleanor Blake. I used to believe in the system. I worked for it. I gave it years of my life. But what I found, what I saw, forced me to choose between silence and justice." She detailed the conspiracy with clarity and calm. Names, dates, companies, motives, no exaggeration, no dramatics, just the truth. Then William took over. He spoke not as a billionaire, not as a husband, but as a man who'd nearly lost everything. "To those watching, you may not know us, but you know the feeling of betrayal, of injustice, of watching the powerful eat the powerless and call it progress. We're not just exposing corruption. We're exposing the machinery behind it." He paused. "And to the men who tried to take our lives, I'm not afraid of you. We're not going away. And this time, you don't get to erase the evidence." He ended the recording. Eleanor began uploading the files through the encrypted channel, then the video to multiple cloud locations. Once it reached 3 servers, she initiated a timed public release. It would go live in 12 hours unless manually stopped by her fingerprint or William's. "That's it," she said, closing the lid. "Now we wait." A strange stillness followed. Anna had drifted to sleep, curled up on the couch. Eleanor rested her head on William's shoulder, and for the first time in what felt like years, the silence wasn't full of fear. It was full of promise. The quiet before the storm broke, the quiet before the world finally saw. At precisely 6 a.m., the first headline hit. Government whistleblower leaks evidence of widespread corruption in education data sector. By 6:15, Eleanor's face was on every major news site. A still from the video, her eyes steady and determined. A stark contrast to the chaos brewing in the headlines beneath her. William stood by the window of his penthouse, coffee untouched, phone vibrating constantly on the table beside him. The city below was waking up, but this morning, it didn't feel like Boston. It felt like a courtroom, a battlefield, a reckoning. Eleanor emerged from the bedroom, tying her robe, phone in hand. "They ran it in full, no redactions," she said, voice still thick from sleep. "The Herald, Tribune, even the Times picked it up. And the response? Predictably split. Half calling for investigations. The other half accusing us of making it all up. But the datas live on 5 separate mirrors. They can't take it down." William nodded, eyes scanning the skyline. "And the video? Already at 2 million views." Anna came into the room, rubbing her eyes, still clutching the bear. She climbed onto the sofa and looked up at them. "Did you win?" William knelt beside her. "Not yet, but we've started the fight." Eleanor turned on the TV. Cable news anchors looked visibly rattled. They spoke in carefully chosen words. Alleged. Unconfirmed. Potential implications. But behind their caution was fear. Fear of the truth. Fear of accountability. And somewhere in a dark office, William knew, there were men pacing the floor, watching the same broadcasts, and deciding what to do next. "They won't go quietly," Eleanor said. "They already haven't," William replied, "which means we need to be ready." He walked into the study, grabbed the go bag from beneath the desk. 2 burner phones, cash, IDs. He'd hoped to never need it. Anna watched him. "Are we running?" "No," he said gently. "We're staying ahead." Just then, a knock at the door. 3 sharp raps. William froze. Eleanor's eyes flicked toward the hallway. She stepped in front of Anna instinctively. William approached the door slowly, checking the monitor. Detective Morales. Alone. He opened the door. "You picked a hell of a time for a visit," William said. Morales stepped in, eyes darting quickly around the apartment. "You're not safe here. I've already had 2 separate federal agencies call my department demanding your arrest for what? They couldn't say. Fabrication. National security violation. Some nonsense about defamation. So it's working," Eleanor said, appearing behind William. "They're scared." "Yes," Morales said. "Scared enough to do something stupid, which means you need to move." "We already planned for that," William said. "There's a place upstate, quiet, secure, no neighbors, no signal." Morales nodded. "Go now. Don't wait for backup. And don't trust anyone. Even some of my people are acting strange." Anna stood beside Eleanor now, silent but alert. Morales looked at her, her voice softening. "And her?" William met Morales's gaze. "She comes with us." "I figured," Morales said. "Just be careful. The kind of people you've exposed don't make mistakes twice." They left within 30 minutes. William drove, Eleanor in the passenger seat. Anna curled in the back seat, staring out the window. Her small face etched with a seriousness that didn't belong to children. The sun had risen fully now, casting long rays across the highway, burning the last of the night's shadows away. But William felt no warmth in it. His thoughts kept circling one truth. They were running out of moves. They could go off the grid, survive. But surviving wasn't enough. This wasn't just about staying alive anymore. It was about making sure the right people couldn't just erase the truth. Eleanor seemed to read his mind. She pulled a tablet from her bag, opened a secured app, and showed him the feed. Live comments. Reaction videos. Thousands of users dissecting every document. Every frame. Hashtags trending. Whistleblower accounts popping up in solidarity. The people are listening, she said quietly. They won't be able to silence all of them. William nodded, his fingers tightening around the wheel. But they'll try. Just then, Eleanor's phone buzzed. She checked it. Her eyes narrowed. What? William asked. She held it up. Message from an unknown sender. You think this is justice? You've only peeled back the first layer. The deeper you go, the more blood you'll find. Some stains never come out. Stop digging. Attached was a photo of the house in Rockport, the front door blown open, the piano smashed. The message was clear. We have to assume they're tracking us, William said. No, Eleanor replied. They're not tracking us. They're sending a message. Anna leaned forward from the back seat. What did it say? Eleanor turned to her slowly. It said they're afraid. And when people are afraid, they try to scare others. But you know what we do when someone tries to scare us? Anna nodded. We don't run. That's right, William said. We make them answer. They reached the safe house by early afternoon. It was nestled deep in the Berkshires, surrounded by tall pines and the echo of wind through leaves. An old hunting cabin William had converted years ago with reinforced walls and off-grid power. No neighbors for miles. No cell towers. Only satellite access. They settled in quickly. Eleanor set up a second data terminal. William armed the perimeter sensors. Anna helped by handing them tools. Her way of being part of the fight. By evening, another message came. This time, not a threat, but a plea. A former commission employee. Anonymous. He had seen the leak, and he wanted to talk. Eleanor looked at the screen, then at William, then at Anna. This is it, she whispered. It's starting. They're breaking. William exhaled, the tension in his shoulders easing only slightly. He looked out the window at the setting Sunday. They weren't safe. Not yet, but for the first time, the silence didn't feel like waiting to die. It felt like waiting to win. Night had fallen across the Berkshires. The cabin sat beneath a blanket of stars. The woods humming with the quiet rhythm of crickets and wind through pine. Inside, the glow of laptops and monitors reflected in Eleanor's eyes as she decrypted the message from the anonymous source. William sat beside her, his hand resting protectively on Anna's shoulder. The girl had fallen asleep on the rug, the stuffed bear still clutched tight against her chest. Even in slumber, her brow was furrowed, as if her small body hadn't yet learned how to rest without tension. His alias is Sparrow, Eleanor whispered. Scrolling through the emails, he worked as an internal tech liaison for the Commission's Analytics Division. Claims he saw the initial approvals for the Lancer contracts. William leaned forward. Does he have proof? Yes. And more than that, he says there's another layer. Something we haven't touched yet. Deeper than the Lancer leaks? She nodded slowly. He's saying what we exposed was just the bait. The real operation is buried in a program called Vigil. It never went through Congress. Was never signed into law. It was a private black ops surveillance network built for predictive policing and then retooled for political manipulation. William's stomach turned. Jesus. Behavioral modeling. Risk scoring. They targeted children in underserved communities, flagged them as future threats, and built AI-generated profiles that followed them into adulthood. Denied school placement. Denied housing. Flagged for surveillance before they ever made a mistake. He stood up, pacing. And nobody stopped it? They designed it not to be stopped, Eleanor said. It was coded into private contractors with national security immunity. Every layer of the system blames another. No single person signs off. It's all obscured through legal handoffs. Can we trace it? If what Sparrow says is true, yes. He claims to have access to the root logs, audit trails, even session data from the architects. William looked down at Anna, then back at Eleanor. This isn't just about exposing corruption anymore. This is generational. Eleanor closed the laptop. He's willing to meet, but only in person. Tomorrow, he'll pick the location. Wants to ensure he isn't being watched. Where? She hesitated. He wants us to meet him at a public library in Albany. Noon. Says the noise levels and public Wi-Fi mask tracing. William's jaw tightened. That's a 3-hour drive, and out in the open. We can't afford to pass on this, Eleanor said. If he's real, if he has what he says he does, this could be the kill shot. William looked again at Anna. We can't bring her. I know. A long silence followed. Then William said, we split. I'll go. You stay here with her. No, Eleanor said firmly. You're the one they'll target on the road. I need to make the contact. You stay and protect her. That's how we win both battles. He didn't like it, but she was right. The next morning, Eleanor left at dawn in a different vehicle, an old Jeep they'd kept at the cabin for emergencies. She wore a baseball cap and loose hoodie, her face obscured enough to avoid recognition. Before she left, she knelt beside Anna. I'm just going to the library, she said with a warm smile. Nothing scary. I'll be back before dinner. Anna looked unsure. Promise? I promise. Anna leaned in and hugged her tight, whispering, Don't let the bad people find you. I won't, Eleanor replied. You've made me braver than I've ever been. William watched from the porch, arms crossed, eyes scanning the tree line as the Jeep rolled down the dirt path and disappeared into the woods. Then came the waiting, and the silence. Hours passed slowly. William kept Anna busy fixing breakfast together, drawing, telling stories from his childhood she didn't quite believe. By early afternoon, the unease had crept in. Still no message. Still no check-in. At 2:15 p.m., William's burner phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered instantly. William Blake? The voice asked. Male. Calm. Measured. Speaking. This is Sparrow. William froze. You were supposed to meet Eleanor. I did. But we were compromised. Someone followed her. William's blood went cold. Where is she? She escaped. I split off to lead them away. I think I lost them, but we have a problem. What kind of problem? Sparrow hesitated. They knew about the meeting before I confirmed it. That means someone is watching you. Listening. Maybe even now. William turned slowly, his eyes moving to the cabin's power source, the satellite relay. I thought we were off-grid. Not completely. They may have seeded malware into one of the update files. If you're not running a pure cold system, they could be inside. William looked at Anna, then at the laptop Eleanor had used. Still connected. Still open. Listen, Sparrow said. She's safe for now. She told me to deliver the data to you directly. But you need to cut all comms. Go dark, fully. No electronics. No vehicles made in the last 10 years. They can track through anything. I need a place to meet. There's a barn 2 miles northeast of you, Sparrow said. Old dairy facility. GPS dead zone. I'll be there in 40 minutes. William ended the call. He closed the laptop, pulled the satellite battery, smashed the SIM card in the burner. Then he turned to Anna. Put your shoes on, he said softly. We're taking a little hike. The woods were thick but familiar. William carried a compass and map, one of the old-school kinds that never needed batteries. Anna walked beside him in silence, matching his pace with surprising maturity. Are we running again? She asked after a while. No, he said. We're meeting someone. Someone who can help us stop this. She nodded. Good. They reached the barn just before sunset. It stood crooked on a ridge, half covered in moss. One side collapsed, but the interior still intact. William cleared the area, checked for tripwires, sensors, drones. Nothing. They waited. 20 minutes later, a man appeared from the tree line. Thin, pale, glasses, a text build, not a fighter. He raised his hands to show he was unarmed. I'm Sparrow, he said quietly. You must be William. I am. They stepped inside. Sparrow opened his backpack, pulled out a small metal case. Inside 3 hard drives. These are the source servers, he said. Everything. The logs, the names, the models, the fingerprints of everyone who signed off on Vigil. William stared at the drives like they were relics from another world. Sparrow added. But if you open them on a connected system, they'll fry. You'll need a true offline terminal. Air gapped. Analog interface. I've got one, William said. Back at the cabin. Then that's your next step, Sparrow said. But you need to do it soon, because once you crack them, every alarm they've got will go off. And then? William asked. Sparrow looked him in the eye. Then the war begins. The forest was nearly silent on the walk back. William moved briskly, hard drive case strapped across his shoulder, Anna beside him, trying her best to keep pace. The weight of the conversation with Sparrow pressed heavy on his chest. 3 drives, 3 ticking bombs, and once opened, a point of no return. Back at the cabin, the sun had nearly vanished. Dusk painted the sky in bruised violets and oranges. The safe house looked undisturbed. But William didn't trust appearances anymore. He circled it twice before leading Anna through the back door. They moved quickly. No lights, only flashlights with red filters to avoid attention. William stowed the hard drives beneath a floorboard near the old fireplace, then began dismantling what was left of their electronics burners. Routers. Anything with a signal. Anna stood quietly, arms crossed. She watched him like a child far older than her years. Like someone who knew danger, not as an idea, but as a pattern. Is Eleanor okay? She asked suddenly. William looked up. I believe she islanded, but we'll know for sure when she makes contact. You miss her? His voice caught slightly. More than I can say. Anna nodded solemnly. She makes the world feel smaller. Like it's not so scary. William smiled faintly. She does that. They slept in shifts that night. William stayed up through the early hours, his eyes scanning the window every 10 minutes. He replayed every detail Sparrow had given him. Names, networks, the origins of Vigil, a program that was never meant to see daylight. Hidden beneath layers of plausible deniability, built for national prediction security. And then unleashed on the American people. By morning, no message had come from Eleanor. By noon, he made the decision. They would open the drives. The hidden terminal sat in a locked compartment beneath the study floor. It was a relic from a different era, bulky, slow, but completely disconnected from the outside world. William powered it up, watching the screen flicker to life with the satisfying hum of old circuitry. He inserted the first drive. The terminal hesitated, then accepted. A command prompt appeared. No interface, just a blinking cursor. Anna sat nearby, watching without speaking, chewing on the edge of her sleeve. William typed, run index. Text spilled across the screen: data logs, server pings, authentication keys. Then came the files, PDFs, video feeds, real-time mapping, simulations of inner-city youth movements, predictive arrest models, AI scoring algorithms based on social behavior, race, neighborhood density. One folder was labeled Project Blackseed. William opened it. Inside, individual reports, profiles of children, dozens of them, each tagged with a risk assessment number. Threat probability: high. Deviation likelihood: elevated. The system flagged kids based on things like absences, energy levels, or whether they had a parent incarcerated. It used nothing more than metadata and geography to predict who would be watched, and eventually, who would be denied. Anna stepped closer, peering at the screen. What is that? William hesitated. It's something bad. Are there kids like me in there? He looked at her, heart sinking. Yes. She stared at the screen. So they think I'm dangerous just because of where I'm from? No, William said. They think you're dangerous because they're afraid of what they don't understand. And instead of helping kids like you, they punish you before you've even had a chance to grow. Anna said nothing, but her lip trembled. William turned back to the screen. We're going to stop them. Every one of them. He pulled up Sparrow's roadmap. The next phase. Stage 1. Evidence. Stage 2. Testimony. Stage 3. Mobilization. It was time to start Stage 2. He composed an email with encrypted attachments, documents, snapshots, spreadsheets, and most importantly, the AI scoring logic. Then he drafted a letter addressed to key members of Congress, a group of journalists, and 3 public advocacy groups. But before he could hit send, A noise broke the silence. 3 knocks. Again, not at the front door this time. From the side porch, Anna jumped. William reached for the old revolver hidden in the drawer beneath the desk. He motioned for her to stay low, then approached the door cautiously. He peered through the peephole. Eleanor, alone, disheveled, tired, but alive. He opened the door instantly and pulled her inside. She didn't speak at first, just collapsed into his arms, breathing hard, clothes damp with sweat. "They chased me halfway across the county," she said finally. "I hid in a culvert near the rail line until they gave up. I think they thought I drowned." William pressed his forehead to hers. "You're safe now." She looked over at Anna. The girl had tears in her eyes. "You came back," Anna whispered. "I told you I would." Anna ran and hugged her tightly. None of them spoke for a moment. Finally, William guided Eleanor into the study and showed her the files. Her eyes widened. "You cracked it." "More than cracked," he said. "I think we have enough to trigger an investigation. Not just in the media, but federal oversight." She scanned the screen. This will end careers. Maybe even jail time. But they're going to fight back harder than ever." William nodded. "Then we hit first." Sparrow suggested a live stream, a full breakdown, with public access to the documents. Transparent, undeniable, unedited. Eleanor smiled weakly. "Let them try to bury us after that." William set the timer. "Live stream begins in 4 hours. He looked at Eleanor. "Are you sure you're up for it?" She looked at Anna, then back at him. "I'm not doing this for me anymore. I'm doing it for her. And every kid like her they tried to erase." William pressed the final command. "Start countdown." And somewhere, in the center of the network they were about to expose, another timer began counting down too. Not one William had triggered, but one set long ago. Elimination protocol initiated. No alarms, no warnings, just silence. The kind that comes before something breaks. The live stream countdown ticked down silently on the old terminal. 3 hours 58 minutes and 32 seconds, then 3 hours 58 minutes and 31 seconds. The cabin was tense, still. William, Eleanor, and Anna had huddled in the small kitchen, the scent of burnt coffee lingering in the air. A radio on the counter crackled with static. They were off-grid, but Eleanor had rigged it to pick up local chatter. Nothing concrete yet. Just the low murmur of a world that didn't know what was coming. William stood at the table, eyes fixed on the hard drives. "Do we run it straight from here?" "No," Eleanor said, finishing her second cup of coffee. "We prep the stream locally. But it pushes to a mirrored site hosted on decentralized servers. Sparrow helped build it. They can try to block it, but they'll never take it down completely." Anna sat nearby, scribbling in a notebook with colored pencils. She wasn't drawing houses or flowers like other kids. She was drawing data streams, names in block letters: Klein, Vigil, Blackseed, mixed in with stick figures of children behind fences. William caught it and felt a surge of cold anger rise in his gut. He walked over, knelt beside her. "When this is all over," he said softly, "you won't ever have to draw pictures like that again." Anna looked up at him. "Promise?" He swallowed. "Yes, I promise." Outside, the wind picked up. The trees whispered as if something were moving through them. Then suddenly a sound. Not natural. Not the forest. Click, a small metallic thump. Then the subtle whine of power igniting. Eleanor's head shot up. "Did you hear that?" William ran to the living room and opened the small compartment near the door that housed the security sensors. One of them, the northern perimeter trip, was flashing red. "Intrusion," he said grimly. Eleanor was already at the far window with binoculars. "I see too," she whispered. "Tactical gear. Quiet. Controlled movement. No insignia." William turned off every light in the cabin. Then he crossed the room and pulled a hidden rifle from behind the bookshelf. "They're not here to knock." "How fast can they breach?" Eleanor asked. "If they're pros, under 2 minutes once they commit, maybe less." "Then we split," she said quickly. "You take Anna and the data, go out the root cellar, through the west path. I'll stay and stall them." William grabbed her arm. "No. Not again." We stay together. They're not going to stop, Will, she said. And if they take the data, everything is gone. You know that. He clenched his jaw. You stay alive. You hear me? I always do, she said softly, then leaned in and kissed him hard. Get her out. William turned, scooped Anna into his arms. She didn't even resist and darted for the root cellar. It was cramped, narrow, but it tunneled into the hillside and let out in a thicket almost 50 yards west. They disappeared into the dark. Behind them, the first flash of light pierced the cabin. Boom! The front door blew inward. Gunfire shattered the silence. Eleanor hit the floor, rolling behind the kitchen island. Her heart pounded, but her mind was clear. They'd timed this attack for the livestream window, knowing it was the last moment to stop the data from going public. She pulled the decoy drive from her pocket and slid it into the laptop. A dummy file designed to send a signal to their mirrored servers the moment it was accessed. She opened the first document. Trigger initiated. The stream booted into standby, and all 5 backup nodes began the sync. Then she stood up, hands raised, just as 2 masked men stormed into the room. Don't shoot, she yelled. You're too late. It's already begun. The lead man didn't hesitate. He struck her with the butt of his rifle, sending her crumpling to the ground. But not before the file had finished syncing. A blinking light confirmed it. The world was about to watch. Meanwhile, William moved like a ghost through the woods, Anna clutching tightly to his neck. They reached a small overhang near a rocky stream. He placed her down behind a fallen tree and scanned their 6. We rest here for 2 minutes. No more, he whispered. Is Eleanor okay? Anna asked, voice shaking. She will be. She always island. William pulled out a portable radio and activated the scrambled channel. A few seconds of static. Then a voice. Repeat, this is Sparrow. I saw the flash. Are you intact? William clicked back. Eleanor's holding them. We have the data. She triggered the stream. Copy. Then the whole world will see. But they'll hit every node the second it goes live. You need to get to the uplink site. We prepared a backup relay, if the first 5 go down. Where? Old Firewatch Tower, North Ridge, 4 miles. I'll meet you there. William closed the line, then looked at Anna. You ready to hike again, kiddo? She nodded bravely. Let's go. Back at the cabin, Eleanor was zip-tied to a chair, blood trailing from her lip, but her eyes burned with fury. The lead operative removed his helmet. Not a stranger. It was Samuel Vance. Sleek, composed, the same face from the surveillance footage months ago. The man behind, Lancer Analytics, one of the architects of the profiling system that had ruined thousands of lives. You should have stayed buried, he said coolly. You could have disappeared. Lived. But now, you've made yourself the symbol. Symbols outlive men like you. Eleanor spat. He smirked. Not when symbols bleed. He turned to his men. Trace the stream. Burn every relay. Find Blake. Kill the girl. Eleanor laughed weakly. It's too late. Even if you find us all, the truth is out. People know now. Samuel leaned in close. No, Mrs. Blake. People don't want the truth. They want comfort, safety, familiar lies. By the time we're done, they'll believe you were the threat. Then he stood and gave the order. Light it up. 30 minutes later, a trail of smoke rose behind William and Anna as they reached the first ridge. Anna stopped, panting, looking back. Is that our house? William saw it too, the cabin engulfed in flame. He didn't speak, just knelt, took her hands. She's not gone, he said firmly. Not until we finish this. Not until they're held accountable. Anna wiped her nose with her sleeve. Then let's finish it. And together, they climbed. The climb to North Ridge wasn't just steep, it was relentless. The old trail had long since been overtaken by nature, forcing William to cut through brush and roots with the small utility knife from his pack. Anna trudged beside him, breathing hard but never complaining. Her little hands were scratched. Her shoes were soaked, but her eyes held a fire far older than her years. At the top of the hill, the Firewatch Tower finally came into view, an aging skeleton of steel and wood, 30 feet tall, standing like a forgotten sentinel above the forest. The sight of it sent a rush of both relief and urgency through William's chest. He stopped to scan the horizon. Nothing yet. No movement. No sounds beyond the natural symphony of birds and wind. But he knew they were coming. They'll find us, he said quietly. Just a matter of time. Anna looked up at him. Then we beat them to it. William smiled, almost in disbelief. You sound like Eleanor. Anna smiled back. She's the bravest person I know. They approached the base of the tower. The stairs creaked under their weight, but the structure held. When they reached the top, William kicked open the hatch and stepped into the control room. Dust covered everything. Maps yellowed by time hung on the walls. A rusted cot sat in one corner beside a wood-burning stove. But in the center was what he was looking for, a solar-powered relay unit. Sparrow had left it just as promised. William got to work. He laid the drives out on the desk, powered up the terminal, and connected the system to the mesh network. The signal bars lit up one by one, struggling but holding. Anna stood by the window, eyes scanning the tree line far below. Then she whispered, "They're coming." William looked. 2 black SUVs cutting silently through the forest, no headlights, hugging the logging roads below like panthers on a hunt. He turned back to the screen. The data stream was 70% uploaded. The videos, the reports, the predictive algorithms, Sparrow's testimony, coded into a voice-scrambled MP4. William flipped the satellite switch. Now it wasn't just uploading. It was broadcasting. Live. Meanwhile, across the country, cell phones lit up. People on lunch breaks, standing in lines, sitting in traffic. Suddenly, their screens went black, then cut to a grainy video. "This is not a hoax," the voice said. "This is not propaganda. These are the documents. These are the faces. This is what your government allowed to be done in your name." Screens flicked through faces of flagged children, neighborhoods coded by race and income, notes from think tanks referring to certain populations as data liabilities. The truth was ugly, brutal, impossible to look away from. Eleanor's voice came through next. "My name is Eleanor Blake. I worked on these systems. I believed they were built to protect us. I was wrong. They were built to predict who gets to live free and who never gets a chance." Back in the tower, William watched the view count climb. Hundreds of thousands, then millions. The message was spreading. But it wouldn't last long. Anna tugged his sleeve. "Closer," she said. Through the scope, William saw men disembark. Tactical gear, automatic rifles, coordinated. "They're not coming to ask questions," he said. He turned back to the console upload at 92%, battery at 18%. The relay was running hot. "They'll try to jam the signal," he said to himself, "or destroy the tower entirely. Then we need to protect it," Anna said firmly. William handed her a flare gun. "Only if they make it up the stairs. If you have to run, take the trail on the north side straight down, toward the stream. Hide until I come for you." Anna's eyes welled up. "Don't leave me." "I won't," he said. "Not unless I have to make sure the world keeps watching." She nodded and took her position behind the cabinet, out of direct sight. William moved to the railing, rifle in hand. Below, the agents advanced. He took a deep breath and fired a warning shot above their heads. They scattered momentarily, then returned fire wild bursts that tore bark from nearby trees and echoed like thunder through the valley. He ducked. A bullet shattered the window beside Anna. "Almost done," he shouted. 98%. Another round hit the base of the tower. The metal groaned. They were going to bring it down. Suddenly, a new noise, distant but growing. "Helicopter." William looked up, eyes narrowing. Then he saw it press logos on the side. CNN, Reuters, AP. Somehow, someone had broadcast the coordinates. The media was coming. "Live." He turned to Anna. "They can't shoot us now." She peeked up. "Why?" "Because now, the whole world's watching." The agents below stopped firing. William saw them regroup, listening to earpieces, getting new orders. Then they retreated. Silent, clean, like smoke disappearing into the trees. Anna let out a shaky breath. "We did it?" William watched the screen. 100% uploaded. Broadcast signal stable. Mirrors activated. He exhaled. "We did it." But even as he said it, something twisted in his gut. It wasn't over. Not yet. Because heroes don't win the war when the truth comes out. They win it when the world decides what to do with it. Anna stepped beside him, staring at the now quiet forest below. Will they come back? William nodded slowly. Yes. Or others like them. But next time, they won't be able to hide. He looked out at the horizon. The sun was beginning to set, but this time, it didn't feel like an ending. It felt like a beginning. And somewhere, in homes and offices and schools across the country, people were waking up not just to the lies they'd been fed, but to the power of what one voice, one truth, could do. William put his arm around Anna's shoulders. We started something, he said. She leaned her head against him. Then let's finish it. The wind at the top of the fire watch tower had changed. It no longer carried the heavy scent of gunpowder and smoke, but instead something colder, uncertainty. William stood on the platform, arms crossed. As the final data upload blinked complete, the screen pulsed softly, the mirrored servers whirring with life below its calm surface. They had done it. The truth was out. But now, silence. Deafening, eerie silence. Anna sat near the cot inside the tower's small cabin, chewing on a protein bar, her legs swinging. She looked at William with her usual boldness. But behind her eyes was a new weariness. The kind that didn't come from tired legs or empty stomachs, but from knowing too much too young. Are we safe now? She asked. William didn't answer right away. He watched a hawk glide in slow circles above the tree line, a lone witness to the forest's hidden war. Finally, he said, We're visible now. That's not the same as safe. She furrowed her brow. But we told the truth. We did, he said. But the truth doesn't fix things by itself. It just makes people choose. A chirp from the console broke the silence. An incoming call. Encrypted. Anonymous channel. William answered, already knowing who it would be. Sparrow's voice came through, ragged but steady. You made it. We did, William said. The signal held. Every major outlet picked it up. Even international press is running it now. I know, Sparrow said. I'm watching from 10,000 feet above ground in a cargo plane with bad Wi-Fi and better luck than sense. Is Eleanor with you? William asked. Silence. Then Sparrow replied, No. I never found her. William's jaw clenched. You told me she escaped the raid. She did. But she was injured. I tracked her signal to a nearby creek. Then it vanished. No body. No footprints. Just gone. William swallowed hard. Anna had stopped chewing. She's alive, Anna said almost defiantly. I can feel it. William glanced at her, then back at the console. What now? Now, Sparrow said. You need to get moving. The world is watching. But the people behind Project Vigil aren't going quietly. The talking heads are spinning it already, calling it a hoax, Russian disinformation, deep fake leaks. There's even a rumor you and Eleanor are foreign agents. William laughed without humor. Of course. But there's a flip side, Sparrow continued. Some state attorneys are calling for inquiries. A few judges have issued preliminary injunctions. A few brave ones. It's not justice yet, but it's a crack. You made the first break. And now, William asked again, you go public. Fully. No more hiding. You become the face. The voice. If you disappear now, the media writes you off as unstable. If you speak, they have to listen. William looked down at his dirt-stained boots, then at Anna. You want me to become the symbol? Sparrow paused. No. I want you to survive. But if you want this to matter, then yes. We need a name, a face, a story that makes people care. The call ended. William stood motionless for a moment, then turned to Anna. You okay with being seen? She shrugged. They already see me. They just don't see me. He sat down beside her. You don't have to speak if you don't want to. I want to, she said. They should know I'm not a threat just because I don't live in a big house, just because my skin's brown. William felt a tightness in his throat. He reached out and squeezed her hand. Then he stood and grabbed the camera from Sparrow's gear pack. He set it up near the window, angled just right. He pressed record and began, My name is William Blake. I am a father, a husband, a veteran, and for the last few months, a fugitive. Not because I broke the law, but because I uncovered one. Because I discovered a system secret, illegal, immoral, designed not to protect people, but to control them, to predict which children would become problems, and to quietly bury their chances before they ever had one. My wife, Eleanor, helped design parts of that system. She didn't know what it would become. When she found out, she tried to stop it. She paid for that choice. She may still be paying now. We don't know who we can trust anymore. But we trust you. The people, the ones watching this, not the institutions, not the agencies. You. Anna stepped into frame, standing close to William. My name is Anna, she said clearly. I'm 6. I'm not dangerous. But they marked me anyway. Because of where I was born. Because I'm black. Because I'm poor. She looked down, then back up at the camera. I'm not asking for much. I just want a future. William ended the video. Then he sent it to every platform Sparrow had linked, to every journalist who'd messaged them, to every email list connected to the civil rights watchdogs. Within minutes, it was already being shared, copied, subtitled, analyzed. The truth now had a voice and a face. They stayed in the tower another 2 hours, listening to the outside world react. Eleanor's name trended on social media. People demanded answers. A senator from Illinois called for a federal investigation into Lancer Analytics. Protesters gathered outside Capitol buildings. Others held vigils for children whose faces had appeared in the leaked files. Anna watched it all from the corner, then finally asked, "Can we go now?" William packed up the drives, the camera, the food. He took one last look at the tower, the place where the fire had been passed on. Then he nodded. Yeah, kiddo, let's go meet the world. The descent from the Firewatch Tower was steep and unkind. William moved with steady steps, his backpack heavy with the weight of hard drives and evidence, while Anna trotted behind him, hugging a small teddy bear they'd found in Sparrow's abandoned supply crate. It had a missing eye and a torn arm, but she'd insisted on keeping it. He's like us, she'd said. A little broken, but still fighting. By mid-afternoon, they reached the base of the ridge. The world felt different now, not just because their hiding place was behind them, but because the air buzzed with something William hadn't felt in months. Noise. They were no longer alone. The first signs came in the form of distant sirens. Then came the hum of news helicopters circling above like mechanical vultures. At the edge of the clearing, a dirt road cut through the forest and led them to a ranger's station. It was there that William spotted a van, unmarked, old, parked just beyond the trees. His instincts flared. He motioned for Anna to stop. He crept forward silently, eyes sharp. Then a familiar voice called out, "Will?" He turned. Sparrow stepped out from behind the van, dressed like a backwoods drifter, but with eyes too sharp to be mistaken for anything but a soldier. "I brought wheels," Sparrow said, "and eyes." Dot. Behind him, 3 other people emerged, activists, hackers. One ex-journalist William recognized from a whistleblower piece 5 years ago. They all looked tired, driven, angry. William nodded. "They'll be watching this road." "We know," Sparrow said. "That's why we're not taking it." He gestured toward a narrow path winding through the trees. "There's an old freight rail line 2 clicks east. We follow it to a safe house near the state line. Then we prep for the hearing." Hearing?" William frowned. "Congress called an emergency oversight session. They want you to testify." The video with Anna went viral, over 50 million views in 12 hours. "You're no longer a whistleblower, Will. You're a national flashpoint." William looked down at Anna. She tightened her grip on the teddy bear but nodded. "We'll go," William said. "But we don't disappear afterward. We finish this." The safe house was an abandoned boarding school turned artist commune, nestled near the Appalachian foothills. Inside, someone had set up a command center, dozens of laptops, satellite feeds, boxes of files, hard drives, burner phones. The smell of instant coffee and dust filled the air. Anna was given a cot and a coloring book. William was given a phone and a choice. "CNN wants an exclusive," said Sparrow. "So does PBS. You could shape the narrative." I don't want a narrative," William replied. I want the truth to stay louder than the spin. Sparrow tilted his head. Then speak it. On your terms. That night, William sat before a camera again, this time for a live interview with a middle-aged black anchor named Lyle Montgomery. A man who'd grown up protesting injustice and had the scars to prove it. Mr. Blake, Lyle began. Why now? William's face was drawn but resolute. Because we waited too long. Because my wife believed we could fix things from the inside. Because we were wrong. You were a defense contractor. You designed predictive tech. Some would say you helped build the very system you're exposing. I did, William said, but it was hijacked. What started as a tool for threat prevention turned into a weapon for social suppression. And I didn't see it until it touched the people I loved. And what about your wife, Eleanor? Do you know where she is? A pause. Then William shook his head. I hope she's alive. But I don't know. What I do know is she died trying to do the right thing. Whether her body's found or not, that's who she'll always be. The interview was raw, honest. Lyle asked tough questions. William gave tougher answers. When it ended, the internet lit up again, not with mockery, not with conspiracy, but with solidarity. Number, we see you trended. Number, I am on a trended. So did, justice for Eleanor. But not everyone was supportive. Within 24 hours, political figures who had once backed predictive policing were on damage control. Samuel Vance, face composed behind designer glasses, appeared on a rival network and called the leak a distortion of intent. These files were early models, he said smoothly. Unrefined. The systems were never deployed at scale. But William's team countered with hard dates, deployment records, contract receipts with Vance's name on them. They weren't just fighting a system now. They were fighting its architects. And the architects were panicking. The morning after the interview, Sparrow burst into the safe house kitchen, waving a burner phone. Emergency session is being pushed up, 48 hours from now. You're on the schedule, William. Testimony will be televised. William froze. And security? Federal protection. But we've already intercepted chatter. There are whispers about false flags. Discrediting tactics. Maybe worse. William looked at Anna, who was eating oatmeal at the counter. She testifies with me, he said. Sparrow blinked. Are you sure? William nodded. If I speak as a father, it only goes so far. But if she speaks, they'll have to see her. Hear her. And if they still turn away, then we know exactly what kind of world we're fighting for. Anna looked up. I'm not afraid. And for the first time since Eleanor disappeared, William smiled. Neither was he. That night, they wrote her testimony together. It was short, simple, but it carried weight. Anna's words. My name is Anna. I'm 6 years old. I like to draw. I like to play tag. I want to be a teacher. But the people with the computers said I might be dangerous. They didn't know me. They just saw numbers. I'm not a number. I'm a kid. William's hands trembled as he folded the paper. Not from fear, but from hope. A dangerous, fragile hope. The kind that changes everything. They slept only a few hours. Because tomorrow, they would walk into the Capitol. Not as fugitives, but as witnesses. The rotunda of the U.S. Capitol never felt so quiet. Underneath the golden dome and its echoing ceilings, the marble air carried a tension that even the chandeliers seemed to hold their breath for. Rows of press, officials, security, and silent protesters filled the gallery of the Congressional Oversight Chamber. On the steps outside, thousands more gathered, holding signs that read, "We are not data, justice for Eleanor, and children are not threats." Inside, William adjusted the collar of his second-hand suit jacket. It didn't fit quite right, too tight at the shoulders, but he stood tall. Beside him, Anna clutched his hand in her small fingers, her braids tied back neatly, her dress plain but dignified. She looked far smaller than she had in the video, and yet somehow stronger. A gavel struck. The chairman, Representative Madeline Trent of Ohio, leaned forward. Her voice, though weary, held steel. This session of the Oversight Committee on Data Governance and Civil Rights is now in order. Mr. William Blake and Miss Anna Blake, please step forward. They walked slowly to the center table. Camera shutters flickered. Anna blinked but didn't flinch. William sat, unfolded his statement, and began. I'm not here as a politician. I'm not here as a hero. I'm here because I helped build something terrible. And I refused to see what it was until it was almost too late. He paused, looking around the room. Some leaned in. Others kept their faces stiff, unreadable. I was a systems engineer. My wife, Eleanor, was a cognitive behaviorist. We believed we were helping law enforcement detect potential threats before they happened. It felt like science fiction with a conscience, but it wasn't. Dagray. He lifted a photograph, one of the leaked documents, showing a young black boy flagged for future violence risk, based on nothing more than zip code, school performance, and family income. This child never committed a crime, but he was surveilled, denied access to programs, assigned a counselor trained in punitive intervention, because a model told them he might become dangerous. Gasps echoed softly. Some representatives looked down. Others scribbled notes furiously. And it wasn't just one child, it was thousands, predominantly children of color, from poor neighborhoods, with no appeals process, no oversight, just math, used as law. William's voice cracked. My wife discovered what the data was really being used for. She tried to stop it. She leaked files. She tried to speak out, and she disappeared. The chamber grew still. We believe she was taken. Possibly killed. But we still don't know. What we do know is this system is real, and it's still out there. He stepped back, signaling the end of his statement. The chairman nodded. Thank you, Mr. Blake. Now, with your permission, your daughter would like to speak. A wave of murmurs swept the room. Anna stood. William gently moved the mic down to her height. She cleared her throat, looked at the rows of eyes in suits and uniforms, and spoke. My name is Anna. I'm 6. I used to play near a big house. The lady there, Miss Eleanor, she was kind. She gave me sandwiches, told me I was smart. Her voice didn't shake. She got taken. I saw it. That's why I called Mr. Blake. Because I thought he could help. I didn't know he was her husband. I just didn't want her to be hurt. Tears welled in a few eyes around the room. They say I was flagged. That I might grow up bad. But I don't even know what I did. I like books. I don't like the dark. I still sleep with my bear. No. She lifted the bear from her backpack and placed it gently on the table. I'm not a number. The silence that followed was thunderous. Then, applause, gentle at first, then rising. From the press, from a few representatives, and from the gallery above, Chairwoman Trent banged her gavel once, not to silence them, but to restore order. Thank you, Miss Blake. You've said more in 3 minutes than some of us have in years. Anna smiled and sat back down. The questioning phase began. Some were genuine. Others veiled in legalese, trying to soften the blow or redirect blame. A representative from Texas asked, Mr. Blake, is there evidence of this system being approved at federal levels? William nodded. We have contracts with Homeland Security, DoD-funded grants, and emails that show top-level oversight. It wasn't rogue, it was built into the bones. Did any elected officials know? Maybe not at first, but many knew later, and they did nothing. Representative Howard, a conservative from Arizona, leaned forward. And what do you propose we do now, Mr. Blake? Shut it all down? Leave law enforcement blind? No, William said. Rebuild it, with transparency, with ethics boards, with civilian oversight, and with the people it affects most in the room when decisions are made. Anna nodded beside him. She didn't need to say more. She'd already said enough. After 4 hours, the hearing adjourned. As William and Anna left the chamber, a group of parents approached them, some black, some Latino, some white, holding pictures of their children. All flagged. All denied opportunities they never understood. You gave us a voice, one mother said. No, William replied. Anna did. That evening, the media couldn't stop talking. CNN ran the headline, A Child's Testimony Shakes Washington. The New York Times front page read, From predictive justice to profiling. Inside a scandal. Whoa, Even Fox News couldn't ignore it, though they painted it as a tragic misuse of good intentions. But the people started marching. In Detroit, in Oakland, in Atlanta, in Baltimore, not in rage, in unity, and they carried signs not with William's name, but with Anna's. Number, I am not a number. Number, let kids grow. Number, justice for Eleanor. And beneath the Capitol dome, in offices once deaf to anything but power, ears were finally straining toward the truth. Because when a child speaks with honesty, even the walls must listen. The morning after the hearing, Washington, D.C., woke to a strange calm. For the first time in weeks, the headlines weren't about war, crime, or division. They were about a little girl who told the truth in a room full of power. They were about a man who used to build silence, choosing instead to build a voice. The footage of Anna placing her bear on the congressional desk had circled the globe. People shared it not just as a moment of testimony, but as a symbol. Something honest in a world that had grown too accustomed to shadows. William Blake stood at the window of a temporary apartment arranged for them by Sparrow's contacts. It overlooked a quiet park. Children were playing in the distance. Their laughter drifted faintly through the glass, mingling with the murmur of distant sirens and city breath. He held a cup of coffee in his hand, dark and too bitter, just the way Eleanor used to drink it. Eleanor. His thoughts drifted to her more frequently now, not just as a wound, but as a presence. Her voice had echoed through Anna's that day. Her courage had moved through them both like an invisible thread. She was gone. Maybe. But her work wasn't. Behind him, Anna sat at the table, carefully writing on lined notebook paper. She was humming to herself, tongue poking out slightly in concentration. "What are you working on?" William asked softly. "A letter," she replied, "to Eleanor, in case she's out there, so she knows what happened." William smiled faintly. "That's a good idea." He turned back to the window. A knock came at the door. He opened it cautiously. It was Sparrow, holding a folded newspaper and a thermos of fresh coffee. "You made the front page," he said, handing the paper over. William unfolded it. A New American Voices, How a 6-Year-Old Changed the Nation's Course. Below the headline was a still image of Anna, standing at the microphone, the teddy bear between her and the world. Her eyes were wide, her expression solemn. Sparrow stepped inside, setting the thermos down. "They're launching a federal investigation," he said. "Real one this time. Independent oversight. Subpoenas going out next week. Vance resigned this morning. Disgraced. His assets frozen. William let out a breath. "Good. Eleanor's name is cleared," Sparrow continued. "Officially. She's being honored posthumously by the National Civil Liberties Foundation." William's eyes closed for a moment. "Not the ending she deserved," he murmured. "But the beginning she gave others," Sparrow said. Anna joined them, holding the folded letter she'd just finished. "Can I read it?" she asked. William knelt beside her. "Please." She opened the letter and began, "Dear Miss Eleanor, we told them, everyone, about what happened, about what you tried to stop. People listened. Some even cried. I think they believed me. I think they saw me, really saw me. Thank you for giving me peanut butter sandwiches, for calling me clever, for not seeing a threat. Just a girl. I miss you. But I know you're still here somehow. I promise to keep telling the truth, even when it's scary, even when it hurts. Love, Anna." Silence filled the room when she finished. William wiped his eyes and pulled her close. Sparrow looked away respectfully. "There's a rally tonight," he said after a moment. "National Mall. Peaceful. Massive turnout expected. They want you to speak." William looked at Anna. She nodded solemnly. "We'll go," he said. That evening, the sun dipped behind the Washington Monument, casting long golden rays over the reflecting pool. The crowd stretched beyond sight: men, women, elders, students, veterans, teachers, children holding handmade signs. It wasn't rage that filled the air. It was something gentler, something stronger: resolve. A simple wooden stage had been built facing the crowd. A microphone stood in the center. William stepped up first. The applause was warm but controlled. He spoke briefly. "I've spent most of my life believing that numbers told the truth. that algorithms could protect us, but numbers don't understand dignity. And machines don't feel guilt. Only we do. Only people. He looked out at the sea of faces. I stood by while systems were built that divided people by race, class, and fear. I did nothing. My wife tried to stop it and lost everything. But one voice, one small voice, reminded me what truth sounds like. You all heard her. He stepped back, and Anna stepped forward. The hush was instant. I'm not here to talk about code or computers, she said. I don't even know how that stuff works. I just know that when people don't see you, you feel small. But when someone does see you, you can grow big. She held up her bear. This is Mr. Lumpy. He's not perfect, neither am I. But we still deserve to be loved, not feared. The crowd responded with soft claps, tears, nods, elders with gray hair and aching memories, children with uncertain futures. The present moment belonged to them all. After the rally, William and Anna walked quietly along the edge of the mall. The air smelled like hope and food trucks. I'm proud of you, William said. Anna squeezed his hand. I'm proud of you too. They passed by a vendor selling hand-painted signs. One caught William's eye. It read, "Justice isn't perfect, but it's possible." He bought it, carried it with him, and as they disappeared into the crowd, neither fugitives nor figures of controversy, but simply father and daughter walking toward a still fractured, still beautiful world. William understood something. Truth doesn't win with fireworks. It wins with footsteps, with letters, with the sound of a child's voice in the dark, refusing to be silenced. And the world, wounded but listening, listens still. The story of William and Anna reminds us that truth is not a weapon, it is a light. And even the smallest voice can illuminate the darkest systems. It teaches us that courage is not reserved for the powerful, but often begins with those who have the least to lose and the most to say. Justice may be delayed, distorted, or denied, but it begins the moment someone dares to speak up. In a world dominated by data and noise, human dignity must never be reduced to numbers. This story is a quiet anthem to integrity, empathy, and the enduring power of a child who simply refused to be unseen.